This is a production of PBS Charlotte.
This week on Off the Record, we want it, we want it, we want it. Okay, we don't want it. What City Council Democrats said privately and then publicly about the GOP convention. Toll roads coming to I-485, you'd think there'd be a big protest, right? But not so much, at least not yet. Carolina Panthers kick off this season's training camp in Spartanburg as usual. But what about future training camps under their new owner? The public sounds off on affordable housing in Charlotte. Is $50 million tax dollars enough? And who decides how to spend that money? Plus, all aboard the Amtrak train at Charlotte's new Uptown train station. Estimated time of arrival, about 6 years from now. Off the Record's next on PBS Charlotte. Hi, I'm Jeff Sonnier. This is Off the Record, where we talk about the stories you've been talking about this week. And if you watch the news, read the news, or listen to the news, you'll recognize the names and faces around our table. Dedrick Russell from WBTV and Mark Becker from WSOC-TV. Thanks for joining us. Also, Jonathan Lowe from Spectrum News Charlotte and Ashley Fahey from the Charlotte Business Journal. Thanks for being here. Thank you for joining us this week. And let's talk first about the City Council and the RNC in 2020, the council members, or the council rather, that you see and hear on camera versus the council member that you don't see and hear when they're behind closed doors. This week, Steve Harrison, our friend at the Charlotte Observer, did a piece that looked at some of the meetings that led up to the decision by City Council 6-5 to bid and accept the RNC in 2020. And interesting to see how a lot of the folks who voted against it publicly, we're not necessarily against it privately. Anybody want to start with that?
So I think LaWanna Mayfield gets the award for being on the same page and consistent through the entire summer. When you look back to early spring, when the mayor first promoted or brought up the idea of pursuing a bid for the RNC in 2020, there was a vote, 10-1, and LaWanna Mayfield was that one abstainer. But if you look at those minutes that Steve Harrison really just laid out really well from a closed session meeting earlier in the summer, I believe nobody really spoke up, namely Braxton Winston, who I think made a comment, came out with a Facebook video only a few weeks before that crucial 6-5 vote, but really didn't say anything. Justin Harlow, another one, really didn't say anything. It was only LaWanna Mayfield that laid out concerns about bringing the Trump administration's rhetoric here to Charlotte, how it would affect protesters, whether the $50 million, that federal grant for security, would be enough. And so Ed Driggs, the Republican, said that she laid all of that out really well.
He actually said it was an effective argument against the RNC if the Democrats were willing to follow that argument, but he said nobody during all those meetings leading up to the public meeting in July, nobody really followed LaWanna on that track until very late in the process.
Which he said, she gave them some really valid arguments for the Democratic opposition or that they could have taken advantage of. And then, we get to later in the summer and we've got that crucial vote.
So it raises the question why? What changed between all those private meetings where there wasn't much opposition and the very public meeting where council members were comparing the RNC to the KKK and talking about Trump as the avatar of white supremacy? I mean, quite a bit of difference both in tone and in content with what council members, in particular council Democrats, were saying there.
Yeah, and I think current events happened with the family separation and, and the daily news cycle about how the Trump administration, how things were going. And I think that someone sounded the alarm for the Democrats sitting on the city council, probably their constituents. They called and say, hey, what are you going to do? So I guess as a city leader, you can wake up one morning and say, hey, I've changed my mind.
Right.
And it's not too late. We haven't crossed the finish line yet. So I guess that's when those giants just woke up and said that, hey, we need to say something now.
I think it probably had less to do with what was going on nationally or internationally with the Trump administration, Republicans, Democrats, that whole thing. I mean, that's been fairly consistent. The issues have changed, but the tone has been the same.
Right.
I think what happened is you have a lot of young, and I say young, I mean inexperienced, council people, politicians here who, and actually we were talking earlier, I mean, okay, we'll say we're for it and think we'll never get it. All of a sudden, it became more and more
Yeah.
clear that
Exactly.
Charlotte was not only front of the line, maybe the line, you know. And so I think there was a little bit of, you know, gosh, maybe we do need to rethink this. And the younger, more inexperienced members of council are going, and finding their voice.
And it would be
Yeah.
interesting to see exactly what was said, because some people would say that, hey, should we explore looking at the RNC and see exactly what are the advantages and disadvantages of bringing the RNC to Charlotte? And I don't know if that was the discussion or if or did they vote, yes, we want the RNC, or are we voting, we want to explore? I think that there is a difference
The
there.
business advantage has never changed. It's always been a positive for business. I guess at some point, the political part of the equation weighs in and maybe starts to, change the scale a little bit.
Absolutely,
Because
yeah.
I would think from the very beginning, business leaders and tourism industry officials, I mean, whether it's Republicans or Democrats, everybody wants to repeat the successes that we saw in 2012, I suppose.
Yes, I think that is definitely a part of it. And economic impact is something that everyone keeps, referring to as why we should bring this, and why this is possibly a great thing for Charlotte. But what will be interesting to see is whether the same vendors that came out for the DNC will come out for the RNC.
Right.
And that's something I'm certainly going to be keeping an eye on, because it's a very different dynamic now, and we'll just have to see what goes on with that.
I think there was a lot of public embarrassment riding on this for the city.
Right.
Because of the fact
Potentially.
nationally, everyone knew that Charlotte and probably Las Vegas were the only two cities that actively wanted and were pursuing this RNC bid. And then we found out that Las Vegas really didn't even do a bid. And it was Charlotte on its own. So all of the work that was done over the summer, I think, and especially to the mayor's credit, really pushed this to make the city look more inclusive. And she was, looking at a lot of embarrassment riding on her if this vote, that federal grant vote didn't go through.
Yeah, in a lot of ways, this kind of was the kickoff for the next city council and mayoral election, because it's a perfect issue. It will not have happened yet. So everyone's speculation about the good and the bad of the convention will be just speculation. It won't necessarily be right or wrong. And you already, especially in Democratic primaries, I already see people potentially lining up against the mayor, perhaps, or against some of those council members who voted for the RNC, maybe having to face the music within their own party, explaining that decision without having the benefit yet of whatever successes the business community might see during the actual convention itself, a year after the election.
And I guess it's all in how you spin it. So Councilmember Greg Phipps, he says, hey, I represent everybody in my district. I represent Republicans, Democrats, and I represent everybody. And also, when you look at it, 1 in 9 people in Charlotte, they work in the hospitality industry.
Right.
So therefore, we're talking about paychecks. We're talking about money to pay your light bill and water bill, and for Charlotte to be 50 out of 50 out of economic mobility. And if City Council said no to this, of an opportunity where people can be able to, have a good Christmas, then how can you answer that to voters when you go to
Yeah,
the
these
polls?
are
So it all
service
depends on how you
jobs,
spend.
service jobs, and real jobs that everyday people can benefit from, I suppose.
And Jeff, just one final point on this. Just yesterday, spoke with the president of the FOP, the Fraternal Order of Police Lodge. Their president expressed concern that he says he is hearing from officers about the workload, those officers that know what it was like working the DNC 12 to 16-hour days for about 2 weeks straight.
Yeah.
A lot of them not able to spend time with their families. And so with this RNC 2020, he expressed that he's hearing from officers that they're not looking forward to the workload. He also expressed for officers that have reached 25 years of service, veteran officers, they can retire. He says that a lot of them he's hearing that a lot of them are thinking of getting out, leaving the department.
Before the event.
Before the event.
And the FOP endorsed.
But I'm not sure that'll happen, John. I think a lot of it at this point is like, You know, at some point you're going to sit back and say, well, really, am I going to walk away from this profession, this career?
It was shocking to me.
So I think that's probably something that'll, calm down over time. But it's going to be huge. For
That could also
And
be
they
a
will
bar-
get help.
yeah.
They will get help
That's a
from
bargaining
other
chip maybe
cities.
by
Right,
the
they
FOB
do.
in terms of
Exactly.
But just the
they
last,
need.
just the build up to the last one, which ended up, fortunately, not being really an issue, right?
Yeah.
But the build up, I mean, they trained everybody in that crowd control stuff. I mean, it was huge.
It costs a lot of money too. The city attorney said that that $50 million grant in 2012, the bulk of it went to personnel costs, not equipment, not things like surveillance cameras. It was housing, feeding them, and training.
But they did get some pretty cool toys out of it.
Yeah, two,
Police got a lot of
That's a
lot
good
of new
point.
equipment.
two quick things. There were only two competitors for this event, obviously Vegas and us, but I really think even in a bigger field with a larger pool of cities, we'd have done well simply because of the success that we had in 2012 and the blueprint, the template that we have to repeat that success in a really kind of a perfectly made setting for an event like this.
And well, let me just speculate maybe that conventions aren't what they used to be. I mean, you talk about, Jeff, you've been to many conventions over the years. They've been scaled back, really. I mean, they went from a full week to now just a few days. And so I wonder if other communities also looked at the potential risk, yes, and the tone politically, but also, okay, they're not as big a deal as they used to be.
And the fundraising, because now they
Yeah.
have to raise $70 million, and the fundraising didn't go well with the DNC. So now you have $70 million. And then with the schools are looking closely at the dates that the RNC will pick, because one of those dates are right in the middle when school starts. And DNC happened when school was on. And so Irwin, that school had to be shut down and all of this stuff. So the school district is also looking at to see, they hope they pick a date that does not coincide with school.
I read something that said that it used to be politics, all politics is local. And now it's kind of flip-flop. All politics is national. I mean, in 2012, Democrat or Republican, everybody looked at the money and said, hey, this is a golden opportunity for us. 2020, everybody has an opinion about Trump and about the Republicans, and that not just influences this particular decision, but I think it even influences local elections. It used to be, don't raise my taxes, pick up the garbage. Now it's, what do you think about Trump? What do you think about immigration? What do you think about all these national issues that really don't touch us in everyday life here, but everybody's got an opinion, everybody hears about it 24/7, and now city council members representing very small pockets of the community have to stake themselves out on some of these very issues that they really don't have a lot of expertise on.
Change it up. All politics is Facebook. I think that's what it is.
That's the ultimate.
I mean,
the ultimate
Facebook,
answer,
Twitter,
yeah.
fill it in. But I mean, it's,
Yeah. Let's talk about I-485 toll roads. Every discussion we've had about toll roads at this table and probably in the community for the last, 6 months to a year has talked about the protest and the public distaste for that concept. But this week when the city unveiled its plans, or the state unveiled its plans for toll lanes on I-485, there was no protest. There was interest. There was maybe a bit of concern, but there's a different tone in the way people are looking at the 485 toll lanes versus the I-77 toll lanes. There's a difference in the projects too, and I want to talk a little bit about what's the difference here.
They had a couple of public meetings 2 days in a row, and they weren't hugely attended like we see with the I-77 corridor. A reporter in my newsroom pointed out two things, that this is going to be government run, meaning the money is going back to taxpayers. And then secondly, the infrastructure is really already there. I mean, they already have the lanes. It just needs to be
if you
converted.
drive that stretch of 485 today on a daily basis, there's a lot of pavement that's already sitting there, unused, striped, and ready to go for these lanes. So I think people are just anxious to use it, and maybe that's part of the reason mentally. But isn't it funny, kind of ironic, that, hey, government, we like the way government operates toll lanes. We're not so keen about how the private sector potentially will operate them on I-77. I guess that's the difference.
Yeah, a lot of angst about the deal that the state signed with the company that's building the toll lanes on 77, and the fact that the company will then profit. They're putting the money up front to build those lanes. So, you know, it's a business deal, right? But it is different. And to your point, Jonathan, there was this lane built, you know, several years ago, but we can't use it. And there was some real angst about that. We're like, what do we got here?
Yeah.
So now we'll be able to use it. So I think it's they've sort of eased it in. There's several factors at work here. Plus, let's just be honest. I mean, going forward, that's the way roads are going to be.
That's the road we're on.
Sort of- Thank you.
And when you start to see, hopefully, you know, 485 is relatively new, so you don't have potholes everywhere.
Right.
But conceivably, you know, if it's government funded and the money's going back or it's being generated from that road and then it's going back to that road, you know, conceivably it would be a nicer,
Yeah. And I guess
well-maintained road.
the other point too is I-77 north to Davidson and beyond has never really been widened before.
Right.
And now the first widening project that they see is the one that's
toll
going
line project.
to cost you to drive on. I think that is just a political and public relations, you know, turns out to be a nightmare for
It's a
that
football,
particular
too.
project. I'm just kind of surprised that hasn't kind of bled off or tainted some of the other toll road projects. But as you mentioned, we're going down that road on 485 and eventually 77 South and Independence Boulevard. I mean, this is the future for our roads in this city.
That's, for better or worse, we're growing up, maturing, and recognizing that you got to pay some taxes and tolls.
Or some tolls. Another transportation story deals with the future of train travel in Charlotte and where those trains will stop and depart from in the future. Ashley, you did a story about the groundbreaking for the new Gateway station, which seems like an awfully long time from groundbreaking to when we'll actually see trains coming and going from uptown.
And let's be clear too, this just broke ground on the infrastructure, not the actual station.
Right.
So CATS next month is supposed to be issuing a request for proposals for developers to come in and say, I want to build this, I want to also build private development around it to help complement the station. But I believe there's some trepidation in the development community. Amtrak is just not the same pull as light rail or high-speed rail. And you know, I know CATS is touting this as a multimodal hub eventually, but we still don't know what's going on with the Red Line. You know, there's still a lot of things in flux right now. So, and then the other piece of it is financing. You know, we have the first phase is funded, all the infrastructure is funded, but CATS is still trying to get federal and state funding for the actual station. And you know, some developers are like, well, we need some solid commitments before we're going to go in there and build a station and do all this development. So it'll be interesting to see what goes on with that.
Yeah, the truth is most people watching this program probably have never been on an Amtrak train. Maybe never been to the station.
Yes, well, let me tell you, I've been to the station because the station is across the street from our station. And yes, I mean, it is not Charlotte's finest facility.
And it hasn't been for a very long time.
I see people get off the train and they wait for a bus or something. They walk uptown, and I'll just say it like it is. It's not exactly the nicest part of town.
Right.
And so, if we're going to continue on this growth trajectory, it's about time that we, you know, fix up.
And this
that
project
piece of it.
has been in the making for so long. I mean, they've been talking about this now almost 30 years, I think. So
Been part of blueprints and long-range planning for an awfully long time.
absolutely. So this is part of CATS's 2030 plan. They also, of course, want to do the Red Line, the Silver Line, and the West Corridor. So that they're doing another information session with that, having the routes, you know, out there and saying, what do you guys think of these routes? What do you think of these options? So we'll have to just see. But again, the funding is a big question mark there.
That's a really interesting point. And, you know, I was looking at the rundown. It doesn't include a stop for the links.
Right.
Just the City Links Gold Line service, which, I mean, that really doesn't make them very much money, does it?
No, it really doesn't at all. So yeah, there's still a lot of question marks with this. And you know, we just saw downtown Raleigh open their Union Station, and there's some trepidation in that city as well because yes, they now have trains going into downtown Raleigh, and there's all this great development
There's a downtown
around
Raleigh? Start another fight.
There is now.
But keep going.
And you know, everyone's saying, well, there's all this development. There's, you know, these 20-story office towers, apartments, and things like that. But would that have happened anyway with the economy the way it is, or is it because of the trains? We're not quite sure. But it'll be, again, that'll be interesting to watch that project to see the economic success of that, and then what we can maybe learn from for Charlotte.
It's so interesting to me that, you know, it seems like we're going back to the future because I was reading that the train station was initially downtown.
It was in the same spot that they're building it.
And they moved it in 1960s, and now it's going back. So, you know, so to me, I'm saying that it would have been nice to have some
Right.
forward-thinking leaders to say,
Right.
oh, we want to have a downtown Charlotte, so why don't we, keep the emphasis on downtown?
Because the
instead of
concept
just
is
moving-
nothing new. Let's build around it and develop our downtown.
So
yeah.
imagine if we had city leaders back there
Yeah.
who said, let's keep it downtown. Oh my goodness.
Where's
we
the
would have
pause
been-
or
yeah.
rewind button? I'm
Right,
looking for that.
You know,
exactly.
the
Right.
interesting thing is there are other cities that have these multimodal facilities, I believe.
Denver's definitely one.
Yeah, Boston is one.
And DC, I'm from DC.
and they're
they have that
huge.
Union Station.
But they're all in downtown. So
Yeah.
to your point, it just seems like, reinventing the wheel.
Yeah, I think that someone talked about it as being the comparable, what we want to build here, comparable to the great train stations in Europe. I mean, if you watch Bond movies or anything like that, you know what they're talking about. We'll see if this becomes our Union Station, our Grand Central, or
So is it 2022 or?
2022.
That's
yeah.
when the
Okay.
rail tracks are supposed to be done. But we're hoping, Hats is hoping that the station delivers around that time too. But we have to just see with the developer and how long that process
Right.
takes.
Let's talk about affordable housing. We always talk about affordable housing. It seems every week. City Council had a public hearing this week to hear what the public thinks about their $50 million bond vote coming up in November. Surprisingly few people showing up for an issue that's been on the table and talked about so much, especially since the protests we had in Charlotte a couple of years ago. Anybody surprised at
No.
how little talk?
No, because it's not it's not the stuff of politics that we're dealing with. I mean, everybody's for affordable housing, right? If you couch that in terms of, okay, now we're going to have to pay X amount more in taxes, whatever that X is, then you might generate some heat. But there's a lot of light there, which is a wonderful thing in today's political. Usually the light follows the heat. In this case, I wasn't surprised that not many people showed up, but I think it'll go. I mean, I do.
But
One
many
thing that
people did
come-
speak on it. Many
Yeah.
people did speak on it at the public hearing.
Right.
That's
14 people.
Yeah,
Right.
14. Wow.
And they want that independent oversight group. So that
Yes.
was
Right.
one thing that came out this week. And certain things, they want to make sure that money's used for, not mostly building new. They want to use it for naturally occurring
Right, houses that
affordable
are
housing.
already there, houses
Right.
that could possibly be.
Also
Which
vouchers.
is a big
yeah.
deal. I know that they're talking, and you might know about this, Dedrick, with the school system about Double Oaks, which wasn't that affordable housing back in the day.
Back
Once
in the day.
before
Back in the day,
Double
yeah.
Oaks. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
you talk about a place that's changed.
Yeah, it has,
So,
though.
but now it's the school system. So they're talking about. I think the number is like $3 million for the city to get that back, and that was floated by Councilwoman LaWanna Mayfield.
They want to make sure
who
the money's
chairs-
spent, some of the money's, more of the money is spent on the poorest of the poor, too.
The
There's been
30%
a
and
debate about
below,
spending
yeah.
money on the working poor, I guess is a good way to put it, versus folks who don't have a job and really are at the bottom of the economic ladder, I suppose.
And that's why folks like Robert Dawkins with Safe Coalition NC are pushing for that independent oversight group, but making sure that people, they're the stakeholders, the people that live in affordable housing are able to be on that oversight group to oversee how that $50 million is spent. But I mean, we have to get past November and voters approving it first.
Where's the development community on this? Obviously, $50 million is what the city can spend, but obviously, if private developers who build housing all over town were to get involved more in a more meaningful way with affordable housing, you could change the dynamics of the whole problem much quicker.
Yeah, it's a little more complicated than that because lenders are always looking for a specific return, and they're always asking, your development has to produce X number of money for this to make sense. So in order for a project to even get financed, the developer has to say, well, here's exactly what we can guarantee as far as how much money this will throw off. That's when you see a lot of mixed income development come into play, and I think the North Tryon Vision Plan is trying to address a lot of that because you can use some of those more expensive market rate units to offset some of the subsidized units. And that's something that the city's been very aggressive, I guess, about getting developers more involved with that. And with publicly owned land, they're being a little bit more intentional about saying, okay, we need to make sure we have a percentage of subsidized or affordable units so that it's not all just market rates outpricing people.
Does that $50 million perhaps represent maybe a carrot on the stick in the future? For
I think it
Yeah.
does. And if you remember
Yeah.
earlier this year, the mayor came out and said when this whole trust fund issue came up, she wants that to be at $100 million. And so remember what she said, she, $50 million from the city, and she's hoping that the private community
Will
here
come
in
in and
Charlotte
match it.
will match that $50
So
million.
we
She's
talk-
very confident about that because when I talked to her after she visited Atlanta to see how Atlanta is dealing with its affordable housing, because I guess Charlotte is 50 out of 50 and then Atlanta is 49 out of 50. And so she said 50 from the private sector and 50 from the government, that's $100 million. And they said that Charlotte has more money going towards affordable housing right now than Atlanta has. Atlanta has like around 75 million. So she's very proud of the fact that that Charlotte is taking the lead. And you know, when you look at Charlotte, that we are taking a stab and tackling affordable housing.
And I think you would see in the private sector definitely interest to help contribute to
Right.
that. And Foundation for the Carolinas, I think, is heading up sort of an effort to get the private sector more engaged and involved in this whole issue. So.
But that battle is, where would that affordable housing go? That
Exactly.
affordable housing cannot be just concentrated in one area. It needs to branch out
Yes. Right.
to the south side. So those kids
Yes.
who need the affordable housing can have access to some well-resourced schools.
And that's where the House or the committee oversight would come into play.
Let's wrap up with a quick talk about the Panthers. They start their training camp. They started their training camp this week in Spartanburg. The question is, how much longer will they be in Spartanburg? Wofford College was Jerry Richardson's alma mater. That's why they're there. The question is, does the new owner perhaps see a future with training camp closer to home in his own personal Panther world?
Yeah, well, I guess talks are starting this week from folks down in Wofford and Spartanburg to say keep the Panthers here because it's a money generator. It's like $13 million and like 100,000 fans come down there. But right now there are no special ties with Panthers and Wofford now with the
Money
changing.
generator for Spartanburg, but
Right.
not necessarily for Mr. Tepper.
Right.
Yeah.
So I would expect, over the next couple years, he'll come up with something. This is what he does, right?
Yeah.
I mean, and
It was interesting. Coach Rivera kind of alluded to yesterday. They interviewed him at training camp, and it almost sounded like he wants to stay down at Wofford. He likes that community, and he likes.
Yeah. And Thomas
the
Davis
practice
also
down
said that
there.
it wouldn't be the same if it changed and things like that. But most NFL teams, that they're staying closer to home. They're not going away for training camps. Like 21 out of 32 teams are staying in their
Locally.
backyards.
Right.
well, then it's not about home necessarily, but it's about like they did in Minnesota, I guess, where they build a complex that then you can market.
Yeah.
And another revenue opportunity.
And it'll take years to build something like that
could
for
be
the
there,
Panthers.
could be here.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll
Stay
talk about
tuned.
that on a future show. We'll call it Panther World. If he does call it that, I have the rights.
You need to get that.
I would appreciate that.
You have to get the sound effect.
Thank you all for joining
Okay.
us this week. Thank you for joining us at home this week, and we'll see you the next time on Off the Record.
A production of PBS Charlotte.